Mentoring for getting started in beekeeping. Utility of nucleus colonies. I am Kevin England. In this lesson, we'll share with you the benefits of using nucleus colonies in conjunction with your regular hives. We'll tell you a little bit about some details that you need to manage along the way, but we'll run through the utility of nucleus colonies and the many ways that you can benefit from them. We'll touch upon overwintering nukes, and we'll also talk about using nucleus colonies as an insurance policy to keep your operation going should you have problems with your full-size colonies. Through this managed mentoring program, we've primarily focused on getting new beekeepers up and running, maintaining their baseline colonies, and getting them to overwinter. As you progress through the program, though, it's time to talk to you about nucleus colonies. The benefits of learning from nucleus colonies alongside of your full-size colonies, as you can see by the list, the utility of them is long and worthwhile and highly encouraged if you want to add that as part of your operation. While it's fun to manage a full-size colony in a traditional hive stack, there is something to say about nucleus colonies. They're fun to work with. They tend to be a little quieter, a little more gentle because they don't defend as vigorously. They're easy to move around. The equipment is quick to go through. You tend to have less time required to maintain them. And well, just overall, there's a lot of benefits of a nuke versus a full-size colony. And most beekeepers say that nukes are a pleasure to work with. As with any good thing, there's a couple watch items to consider. Nucleus colonies, being smaller, have to be overseen with a little more vigor. Proactively, you have to keep them from swarming. You will have to figure out what you're going to do if you're going to overwinter them, or what state you're going to do to transform them if you're not going to overwinter them. You have to watch for robbing, and well, they grow so fast that you do require a more consistent touch to go in and maintain what they have going on versus a full-size colony that can be left to itself for periods of time. The ideal time to create a nuke is when bees are making bees. Spring is the perfect time to make a split, and if you go to the splits lesson posted here in Managed Mentoring program, you can see the steps required to build out a new nucleus colony. Basically, you're harvesting some key resources to set up a hive in miniature, and the instructions are not that complicated to follow. Following the journey, now that you've created a nuke, what can you do with it? One of the first things is harvest resources. Nukes create resources faster than you can use them. It is kind of uncanny how quickly they want to build. If you're looking to draw comb for some of your colonies, let's say you came out of winter and you pulled a couple frames that were not very well formed, you could leave it to the nuke on the side to build new frames and transfer them into your full-size colony. If you need nectar and stores and so on to prop up a hive that came out of winter not so strong, you can harvest them from a nuke. As you take small samples of things out of the nuke, they recover very quickly given how prolific they are. And in the background, if your queen comes out of winter and starts to falter, when you have a nuke on the side, you have the option of an insurance policy to replace anything that doesn't go well. One utility of nucleus colonies is handling a dilemma that you might encounter. Perhaps your full-size colony has developed queen cells and you're trying to figure out how to prevent them from swarming and what to do with the queen cells. Instead of pinching them off, collect them all, sans the queen of course, and move them into a nuke with some resources and bees. They'll rear a queen, and the good news for you is this is at the height of the swarm season, so the queen, which was a swarm queen, is raised on the best nutrition and there's plenty of drones for her to go get mated. Fact of the matter is sometimes full-size colonies make so many queen cells that you have an opportunity to not make one, but two nukes, as you could distribute the queen cells between two boxes and come out ahead with the full-size colony being reduced somewhat from the bees that took them, but still having a queen so they'll recover quickly, and one or two nukes on the side. From a utility standpoint, one of the most important things we think you can gain is the ability to learn, to accelerate your learning curve. Most beekeepers are really hesitant to work in their full-size colonies for fear of doing harm. But if you separate a colony off to the side in a nuke, you have all the time to do whatever you want in that nuke. And you could explore how the nest structure is set up. How does the colony operate inside the box? What's the queen doing? Take time to do full-length inspections. Maybe understand how long it takes to build comb. Perhaps you could use your nuke to pick the queen up and figure out how to get her marked. As a learning tool, there's nothing better than having a nucleus colony at your disposal. They're gentle, they're easy to work with, and you're going to find that when you have a nuke, your learning curve is accelerated quite quickly. Along with learning, there's a close utility that's experimentation. Maybe you want to try something different for your operation. Maybe you want to use different types of frames. Maybe you want to order a Russian queen and see how they work. Maybe you want to try a new hive tool. Experimentation with new practices, new stock, all of that can be done on the side with a nucleus. And again, another opportunity to learn in an environment where you're not messing with your full-size colonies. Mentioned just a short bit ago, one of the key things that most beekeepers keep nukes to the side is as an insurance policy. Maybe you have a colony that's not performing well, and going into winter they could use some additional resources. You could pull some of the resources or do a combine with a nuke to prop that colony up so that it will overwinter. You can also let your nukes raise queens, and then if the queen proves out, meaning she has a good laying pattern and so on, you can take the succession queen from your nuke and replace one in your full-size colony. As we said, there's no shortage of utility from having a nuke in your apiary. For this lesson, last utility to talk about, although there's probably more, just having the equipment available during swarm season is a boon. Maybe you're going to get that call and you can have a hive stack set up ready to go. A general nuke is almost the perfect size, 9 times out of 10, to put a swarm into and bring back and set up in your apiary to get started. When you add the second box and make them 5/5, that makes the perfect pathway to put them in a 10-frame box and head into a full-size colony. For swarm captures, a nuke box is an essential piece of equipment. If you think about operating a nuke colony, typically you have them alongside your full-size colonies during the seasons, but what about overwintering them? It is viable in the mid-Atlantic region to overwinter a 5/5 nuke. You would be able to do it as a single if you insulate them, and as shown here, maybe you want to form a hive condo. You could put 2 or more together and the bees will share the warmth through the woodenware as they're stacked together. In this situation, the beekeeper has chosen to add additional insulation for the outside bees by insulating to the back and sides along with above the top. Overwintered nukes are a great utility for if you lose any hives coming out of winter, you can use the nukes to build out come spring to a full-size colony and replace your losses. There's one other suggestion we want to leave you with. You could, of course, raise nukes to sell, but that's usually an intermediate to advanced skill, and it involves making sure that you have the right permissions from the state level to sell bees in your state, and that varies state by state. But there's another alternative we want to talk about. In this program, we always encourage you to find a friend in beekeeping. 2 beekeepers working together shorten the learning curve, and they can bounce ideas and, in this case, resources off of each other. If 2 beekeepers go into winter and one of them has a bad year, and the other ones have maintained nukes, perhaps you can donate a nuke to the cause for someone, pay it forward, and they can get recovered, and vice versa in the following year or whenever you have problems. We highly encourage you to find a friend in beekeeping and have this discussion about nucleus programs to support each other so that you don't have to buy bees to replace anything that you lose. Nucleus colonies are a fun way to keep bees on the side. They're great for learning and they provide valuable resources to your apiary when you need to have resources at hand to correct any problems and you want to have something in your back pocket that you can leverage. Great utility for building out comb and also for queen situations. No better thing. If you ask a beekeeper who maintains nukes, chances are they're going to tell you that they are an invaluable part of an operation, and we hope that we've convinced you that the utility of a nuke is something you should consider for your beekeeping operation. As we close this lesson down for utility of nucleus colonies, we're going to make one footnote. There's videos out on the internet from Michael Palmer, a beekeeper in Vermont. Sustainability in the apiary. Michael uses nucleus colonies as a primary success factor in his operation. And if you really want to understand the virtues and values of nucleus colonies, you'll spend some time looking at that video. We'll have a link to it along with the lesson plan. Our next series of lessons are going to focus on honey harvesting. From getting the honey off of your hives to uncapping and extracting, and then finally getting it in the bottle. If you have any questions about this lesson or any of the lessons in the program, you can ask at our next online session. You can also send an email to the address on the slide. If you're watching from YouTube, you can leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you at the next lesson.